Hey guys and whiskey lovers, I'm Leon and this is Malt Mariners aka Whiskey Roads. Today I'm gonna take you on a whiskey road to the eastern Highlands of Scotland and will show you a real hidden gem. So today I want to talk about the Glencadam 10 years old. You can see the bottle has been loved and it has been tasted, it has been shared. So all the good stories were told and it's almost getting to the end of it. This is the filling stage of a bottle where I would recommend gather a few friends, have a good night and celebrate the bottle to a good old farewell and goodbye, because at that stage most Scotch whiskies will tend to lose flavor and a bit of aroma over the next half year. If this is like the filling stage, maybe don't keep it any longer than half a year up to a year. This is a quite robust whiskey. So this bottle and this whiskey actually can take on quite a bit of breathing. And maybe this video will prove me wrong, because now this bottle has been sitting on my shelf for about, I would say easily a year, maybe a bit more with this filling stage. So I'm gently rolling around the glass to give this a nice coating so we can have a little sniff, and I'll tell you something about the whiskey in a minute. But before I will go into tasting and telling you about nosing and tasting and all that kind of stuff from this particular bottling, I want to tell you something about the reason why I chose this, why I picked this bottle to give you a review about this today. So Glencadam is a distillery in the eastern Highlands of Scotland. If you're familiar with Scotland, like the Cairngorm Highlands, that is sort of like a really nice area. And on the east side of that, you will find Glencadam, and quite near that, the Fettercairn distilleries. Both are not really well known compared to the big guys like Macallan, Glenfiddich and all that kind of stuff. All those kind of distilleries. And I would call Glencadam, sort of like a hidden gem. It is one of those distilleries that has been producing malt whiskey, single malt whiskey for blenders. It is owned by Angus Dundee Distillers, which also owns the Tom & Toole Distillery in Speyside. And it's one of those distilleries that has matured stock and that could be one of those really great drams if they would actually do something with the whiskey. And I think at the moment they are doing something with it. They have been bottling it as a single malt for quite some time now. I'm not 100% on board with the older versions. I tried a really good 15-year-old. I tried a really bad 15-year-old. I tried some of the older versions that don't really add up on the price front to be really affordable and very good value for money. But this bottling most certainly is. So whenever you come across this whiskey, a 10-year Glencadam, fully matured in ex-bourbon casks, unchill filtered, uncolored, 46% ABV, that is a lovely dram, and I think it is a really good entry-level whiskey as well. But it is also a good whiskey for whiskey aficionados who want to have a bit more depth, a bit more complexity, and who are happy to go into a Highland whiskey that is a bit rougher, that has some edges, has some Scottish, like you can almost taste the Scottish weather and the Scottish Highlands, who are not trying to find something like Cadu or Glenlivet, Glenfiddich, these really smooth, silky Speyside drams. This is a real Highland whiskey. I'm a big fan of Highland whiskey styles, like a bit more rough, a bit more mineral, a bit more rough around the edges. So now we want to look into this, and I think in Germany you pay 30 euros for this, and in the UK you will pay roughly 30 to 35 or even 40 pound for this. Personally, I would say this whiskey is worth paying up to 45 euros. I'm not 100% sure if you guys can get this in the US. I hope so for you. And like I said, maybe I would probably pay anything up to $60 for this bottle. But that's just my personal opinion. Right, let's get down to nosing and tasting the Glencadam 10 years. Like I said, it is matured fully in ex-bourbon casks, and this is actually quite rare. Funnily enough, over 90% of Scotch whiskey, single malt Scotch whiskey, is matured in ex-bourbon casks, but it is not that easy to find a bottling that is exclusively matured in ex-bourbon casks, because many of those will have some sherry casks in them to give it more flavor, more color, and to have like a benchmark whiskey, like 10 years, bourbon cask only, 46%, unchill filtered, uncolored. That is my sweet spot, and I would love to have every distillery in Scotland to give me one of those whiskies, bourbon cask matured, roughly 10 to 12 years old, to show me the benchmark, to show me what the distillery actually has to offer on the character side. Right now, but I'm getting, I'm babbling again. I'm talking away, and I have a wonderful whiskey in front of me. So now it's time for the nosing. And I'll give you some tasting notes, what I can get from the nose from Glencadam 10. So right away, there's this very sweet, malty, a bit mineral note, which is like, obviously this is a malt whiskey, so we will have a lot of sweet notes. There's a citrusy garden fruit note in here, which I would say tends to be like green apples, and some light vanilla notes, which is obvious. That is like the kind of tasting notes you usually get from ex-bourbon casks. And this mineral note, this slight, almost like chalk, this mineral note, this is quite typical for Glencadam, and that is what I really like. There's almost like a cold flavor in here, like snow, like freshly, like fresh snow, and I really enjoy this. So this is not very complex. It's a 10-year-old whiskey, but it's quite straightforward. It's very honest, and I think this is a very nice note, and it's a really good summer dram, I think. Cheers, going into the tasting, Sláinte, and let's see what Glencadam 10 can do after quite some time in the bottle, with a lot of air in the bottle as well. Oh, it's still there. It's quite spicy on the finish, but that's normal. It has a very spicy character. It's like ginger on the finish, almonds on the finish, a bit of citrusy peel, like grapefruit peel maybe. But the thing is, like, if you have like a really refill ex-bourbon cask matured whiskey, you will get a lot of peel flavor, like grapefruit peel, orange peel, and that can be off-putting because it can jump from sour to bitter, and sometimes I don't really like this. If I have too much of this flavor, I don't like that at all. But here it is still quite pungent in terms and crisp, like it's like I said, it's a very good summery whiskey. It's almost like a Chardonnay white wine. Like it's fruity but dry. It's spicy but sweet, and the bitter notes in the end tend to go in the direction of nutty, like almonds or walnut, and it's actually staying in the mouth. The finish is actually quite long for a 10-year-old whiskey. I think this is quite impressive. So yeah, if you're looking for an ex-bourbon cask matured Scotch whiskey at a reasonable age with an age statement, unchill filtered, no color added, I think Glencadam 10 is a really good buy, especially if you're looking to find a mineral Highland whiskey, which is like it goes a bit in the direction of Ben Nevis. I think it's not as good as Ben Nevis, but it's pretty close. Right, so this is basically my review. I just want to add a couple drops of water to this. Just have to find my pipette. Hope this is the right word in English. Sorry for the cluttering. My desk is full of samples for videos, tastings, and so on. Let's add a couple of drops. Added like 5 drops of water to this. This is quite a bit for this very little amount of whiskey in here. You might notice there is a slight haze in here, which is great. this shows us it's an unchill filtered whiskey. And yeah, if the whiskey sort of loses a bit of its clarity, that's fine. Yeah, now I get more of the woody notes, of the sour notes, of the bitter notes. So yeah, I will probably drink this neat if I will pour it the next time, but obviously everybody can do what they want and try to play around with their whiskey. So I think this concludes my tasting of the Glencadam 10-year-old. It's a good whiskey in my opinion, but I am like a person who likes intense spicy whiskeys, who's not afraid of sharp and hot and spicy flavors in a whiskey, who likes a bit of mineral notes in the whiskey. So like I always tell people, know your DJ. In that case, that's me, the person who picks the songs. And if I recommend a song to you, and you know my profile, if you know what I like, and if that matches your profile, then my recommendation might be worthwhile for you to look at. And if you don't like if we don't agree on most tastes, if we have different tastes, for example, then obviously my recommendations will not be very valid for you guys. So I think that's it. That's Glencadam 10, Eastern Highland whiskey represents. And I'm looking forward to share some more whiskey with you in the future. Let me know in the comments if you ever tried a Glencadam before. What do you think is the distillery worth looking out for? And have you tried any other Highland whiskies from the Eastern Highlands? So that's me for today, and I'll see you down the road. And I say cheers and thank you for watching.